1896. A farmer from New Zealand made a decision that he never imagined would carve a place in the pages of history. His name was James Gordon. He possessed nearly 400 special merino and other crossbred sheep, which were primarily raised for their high-quality wool. James thought of taking these sheep to a deserted, uninhabited island in the South Pacific. The island's name was Campbell Island. Located about 700 kilometers, around 435 miles, south of New Zealand. This island was rocky, treeless, and surrounded by biting cold winds. James leased the island from the New Zealand government. His plan was to raise sheep there for the wool business and establish a new settlement. He embarked on the journey to that remote island in a small boat, carrying his 400 sheep, necessary equipment, and timber for building houses. But after reaching the island, his dreams were shattered. There was no grass or green forest there. Instead of soil, there were only stones and rocks. The icy wind blew so hard that it was difficult even to stand. James realized that raising sheep here was simply impossible. Deeply frustrated, he made a cold and cruel decision. He thought it was better to leave the sheep there and return, because within a few weeks they would die of hunger and cold. He left the sheep helpless on that hostile island and returned alone. Why was the island so difficult? Campbell Island is called a sub-Antarctic island. It rains here on average 325 days a year and sees only about 650 hours of sunlight annually. In other words, it is one of the darkest and most hostile places on Earth. Why did James fail? When James went there, he took merino sheep who preferred dry weather, but the island was extremely wet and boggy ground, which was harmful to the sheep's feet. After James Gordon left, human presence on the island almost ceased, but between 1903 and 1930, some other entrepreneurs tried to raise sheep on a large scale. At one point, the number of sheep on the island reached 8,000. But due to the extreme weather of the island, excessive rain, and isolation, the New Zealand government completely shut down this project in 1931. When the working laborers were rescued, they again left thousands of sheep to their fate. People thought that without human help, these domestic animals wouldn't survive even a few months. Because merino sheep's wool doesn't shed on its own, without human help, they were expected to die of illness under the weight of their wool. Moreover, there was no nutritious grass there. But that's where nature's most incredible test began. For 40 long years, from 1931 to the 1970s, no humans set foot on that island. In the 1970s, when scientists landed on the island for research, what they saw was unimaginable. The sheep were not only alive, they had transformed into a completely new species. The following changes were observed in their bodies. Wool shedding ability. The biggest change was in their wool. Domestic sheep need to be shorn, but these sheep had learned to shed their wool on their own by rubbing against rocks or bushes, self-shedding, just like wild animals. Physical structure. Their legs and necks had become much longer than normal sheep. Why? Because as the low grass on the island ran out, their bodies were forced to grow longer to eat the tall megaherbs, a type of large-leaved plant. Strong jaws. Their teeth and jaws had become much more powerful than ordinary sheep, so that they could chew hard branches and roots. Wild behavior. They were no longer calm domestic sheep. They had turned into highly alert and fast-running wild animals. They even started giving birth while standing, so that within minutes of birth, the lamb could run to escape danger. The mystery of megaherbs. There are some strange plants on Campbell Island that are found nowhere else on Earth. Their leaves are very large and colorful. These plants were the primary source of survival for the sheep. Natural selection. According to Darwin's theory, during these 40 years, only those sheep survived who were the strongest and who could change their eating habits. The weak sheep died and were excluded from their lineage. In the 1970s and 80s, while scientists were thrilled about these evolved sheep, the New Zealand government made a tough decision. In 1954, the entire Campbell Island was declared a national nature reserve. The government's objective was to protect the island's primitive plants and rare seabirds. Scientists saw that these thousands of sheep were consuming the rare megaherbs of the island. Since the sheep were not indigenous to this island, brought by humans, the government ordered, to maintain the island's balance, all sheep must be killed. Between 1970 and 1990, a massive operation was carried out. Armed hunters scoured the entire island on foot and by helicopter. More than 5,000 sheep were shot dead. By 1991, Campbell Island became completely sheep-free. This incident created intense debate among environmentalists and scientists. Many believe that such a living example of evolution should have been protected. However, the entire race did not go extinct. In 1975, scientists requested that at least some sheep be saved for research. After much struggle, they managed to capture 11 live sheep, 5 males and 6 females. These sheep were brought to a farm on the mainland of New Zealand. Their descendants are now known as Campbell Island sheep. These new breeds of sheep in New Zealand are now extremely rare. Their wool is no longer white, but rather gray or blackish in color. They have much higher disease resistance than ordinary farm sheep and can survive in hostile environments. Scientists are still researching their DNA to understand how an animal's body can change so drastically in just a few decades. The pace of evolution. Usually, evolution takes thousands of years, but this incident on Campbell Island has proven that if the environment is extremely hostile, evolution can happen in just a few generations, or 50-60 years. Why did they give birth standing up? The island was extremely cold, with wet soil. If they gave birth on the ground, there was a risk of the lamb dying from the cold. So the mother sheep developed the habit of giving birth standing up, so the lamb could fall directly onto hard rock and stand up quickly. The mystery of the whistle. Interestingly, these wild sheep wouldn't come near humans, but strangely, they would gather in one place if they heard the sound of a whistle. Using this tactic, it was possible to capture the last 10-11 sheep. Humans might have abandoned these sheep in neglect, but nature did not neglect them. This story of Campbell Island teaches us that no matter how difficult the situation, life will find its own way. What do you think? Was it right to kill these sheep? Let us know in the comments.